All right, I'm going to answer the question about mashed potatoes, how to make them. I'm going to answer a few questions for you. I have my own way of making them. And of course, our American societies now have taken on the mashed potatoes as their little mascot for so many different kinds of meals now. And they're flavoring them so many different kinds of ways. And all of these things are good. But I'm going to take you back to the basics about mashed potatoes. And this will pretty much demonstrate for you why they are popular to begin with. First of all, you can make mashed potatoes out of anything you want. In terms of red potatoes, Yukon potatoes, excuse me, Yukon Golds, red, there's these potatoes called chef potatoes, Bliss. What do I recommend? I recommend that you make them out of Idaho potatoes and that you leave the skin on. Now, you may object to this, you may not, but I am here to tell you that this is a really good potato recipe. Now, this obviously is going to be time elapsed. I'm going to get these potatoes that are sitting in front of me here. I'm going to put them in the pot. And these are medium-sized Idahos. Now, Idaho is considered to be one of the, if not the best potato in the world. I know that the Parisian chefs have Idaho potatoes flown over all the time to make their souffle potatoes out of. And there's something about the Idaho potatoes that are really good. The skin on the Idaho potatoes also. Now, the red potatoes or the Yukon Golds, and they're all good and they make nice potatoes, but they have a tendency to get a little bit gluey feelings, and you have to be careful how much you mix them. The more you mix them, the gluier they get. The Idahos are not like that. And I'm going to advise you that assuming that you have a medium-sized Idaho potato, you don't need to cut the potato before you boil it. And there's a reason why I don't want you to. And the reason is that when the potato boils and it's cut in half, it will absorb more water than if you don't cut it in half. And the more water you have in it, the waterier the final mashed potato is. And because we're going to be finishing this with butter and cream, and depending on how much of that you want mixed inside your mashed potatoes, if your potatoes are already a little bit watery, you can't put as much butter and cream in them without them turning into baby food. So, although I'm going to give you a specific formula for the amounts of butter and cream, you may want to increase it or decrease it, depending. So all I'm going to do is take the potatoes and put them in the pot, and I'm going to cover them with cold water, and I'm going to boil them to death. And I'm going to make sure they're covered the whole time so I don't have a piece or two of potato anywhere that's sticking up that doesn't get cooked. So this is time elapsed. This is probably going to take half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. Whenever I come back and they're done, I'll tell you how long it took. So these are on high, and I'll be back now in about 45 minutes to finish the mashed potatoes. We'll talk about some of those other seasoning and flavoring agents that you might want to explore putting in there, although I like them just real basic. Okay, be right back. Okay, the mashed potatoes have been cooking, and they are tender for about 45 minutes, just about what I predicted it would be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain them in the pot and bring them back over here, and we're going to mash them up. So I'm going to start by mashed potatoes. Now, the producer says that you can't have too much mashed potatoes, so I'm going to go along with that temporarily, but one of the things I will tell you is this. If you have leftover mash, one of the greatest ways to store them for reheating in a microwave is to wrap them completely in plastic wrap a couple of times so they're nice and tight and put them away. They last a long time, they're fully covered, and you can microwave them directly in the plastic wrap. So let's get to making the mashed potatoes. Now, the simplicity of this recipe is what's going to make it so good. I'm going to begin with butter. Now, the recipe calls for a certain amount of, I believe it's 6 to 10 ounces for 4 or 5 potatoes. This is a larger amount, so we're just going to make the potatoes. I'm going to put some salt and pepper, because the important thing is not that you're following my recipe, but that you follow the procedure, and you can make your own adjustments in terms of how much salt or how much butter or how much cream. Maybe you want to use milk. Maybe you want to use half and half. Maybe you want to put fake butter in. And then when you're all done, maybe you want to put some other seasonings in there. People put all kinds of things in their mashed potatoes these days. Let's put a little bit of cream on here too, just to get it jump started. Now personally, I like my mashed potatoes a little bit lumpy. This is a kind of thing where you do a lot of tasting and seasoning type thing, okay? Now, I already know that I'm going to need a pinch more butter in here. And I want to get it in there while it's hot. And a pinch more cream in here. One of the funny things about adding cream with butter to anything is when you're adding the cream, it's almost like adding butter again, because butter is made out of cream. It's just another form of butter, or vice versa, you know. Now, one of the things I can do, or that I do, and that I recommend, is you can also make these, mash these with a heavy whisk that's strong, that has strong tongs on it. Sometimes a little easier to mix than mixing them with a masher, in terms of making sure that all your salt is incorporated. Okay, let's give these a taste. This needs more cream. This needs more salt. And more cream than I even had there. I think so far I probably have, well, this is a 5-pound bag of potatoes that I started with. And so far I think I've got about almost 2 cups of cream in it. And I think we have about 8 ounces of butter in here right now, half a pound. Now that might seem like a lot, but when you eat these potatoes, it's not going to feel that way. Now they're getting nice and creamy. Let's give them another taste. Let's do that one more time. Sometimes they're not always the same. You might want to taste it in 2 different parts of the pot, you know. This needs a little bit more salt, not much. A little bit more pepper. Just a teeny weeny bit more cream. Beautiful.